Hi, hey, hello, and welcome to. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you right now. This is going to be the prelude to a "Do Not Wash the Jersey" episode of the Educated. A Colts podcast from the Educated fans. That's the first time. Episode 94. We became the Colts podcast, a Colts podcast around episode 90. That's my first time messing it up. It's the last time I'll mess it up. This is a Colts podcast. My name's Brandon, and I'm joined here by your co-host, my best friend. You know, that phrase doesn't make much sense because you're also my co-host. But what's going on, pal? How's your week been? We're a little more spread out now that we're back on that Sunday, Wednesday grind. But how you doing?
Doing good, man. I'm excited to put the Titans game behind us. It's time to focus on the Miami Dolphins, and it's time to get a win. It really is. This is a make or break game for the Indianapolis Colts, I think. So I'm excited to break it down. Excited to discuss the matchup because there's a lot of interesting storylines with this one, and hopefully the Colts come out on top on Sunday. How you been, Brian?
I'm good. I came in here with a lot of energy just now, and then screw up the name of our podcast, but I'm doing good. So just for a little reiteration here, we are a Colts podcast. Go follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at a Colts podcast. Formerly known as the Educated Fan, but we haven't gotten dumber. We've only gotten smarter. So smart we took over literally a coltspodcast.com. Go check that out as well. So, Andrew, we've got a game in Miami this weekend. Colts plus 115 at Dolphins, minus 135, spread of 2 points, over under at 42.5. Go ahead and hit the over. Just going to tell you right now, don't bet on the Colts ever, but I give you permission. I give you permission to bet the over under, just because it's points in a game. It doesn't matter. You're not picking who's winning.
Yeah, you're not wrong there.
Bet the over on any game the Buffalo Bills are playing in. But, yes, so we head down to Miami this weekend, Andrew. Another 1 o'clock game. Probably going to be nice and hot. Going to go see an old friend in Jacoby Brissett. It's the Jacoby Brissett revenge game. Marlon Mack's on the trade block. I mean, we just got things. We got things to cover. Let's start talking about the game itself. Run the damn ball, Andrew. Last week, something happened. We started off running the ball and succeeding in such, and then decided, you know what? Carson Wentz has 2 bum ankles. Let's let him throw 37 times. Now, I did see somebody, Carson himself, talking about, when they put so many guys in the box, sometimes you got to check out runs, blah, blah, blah. We had this conversation last year. You've got to run the foot. I do not care how many people are in the box. Run the ball.
Yeah, and I think that's really what was a big part of it, was because they did call some runs, more than we had initially kind of gave our reaction to. But Carson Wentz and Frank Reich both said they were loading up the box. Carson had checked out of those, and really they just didn't execute on those pass plays. And we have said before, though, when you have an offensive line like this one, who really should be playing at an elite level, when you have Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines in the backfield, you definitely need to make that a huge part of your game. And I really think they will this weekend. I just got done writing my piece that's coming out tomorrow morning on my X Factor, and it really does have an emphasis on the run game. So you'll be able to see that tomorrow, and I'll give that to you later in the show as well. But run the damn ball. That's been this Colts mantra for years now. Even when Jacoby Brissett was here, he was wearing a hat that said "Run the damn ball." Quentin Nelson had that hat. Awesome hat, by the way. But I really think that needs to be the focus this weekend, because when you look at this Dolphins defense, they're currently the 27th ranked rushing defense. They're giving up 136 yards on the ground per game. And last week they gave up 111 yards to Peyton Barber, who is the backup running back for the Las Vegas Raiders. So imagine what Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines can do. So especially when Carson Wentz isn't going to be 100%, I really do think the emphasis needs to be on Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines really running that ball, pounding that rock, and getting yards on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't watch tape quite like you do. I watch the game. I watched the tape that you know, shit talk Carson Wentz in. Big time Carson Wentz hater, guys. If you hadn't heard, no, go check out Twitter. Andrew's just getting roasted today. But I get that they're going to load a box with an injured Carson Wentz. But at the end of the day, I don't imagine they much changed their view on loading the box in the second quarter compared to the second half. You know what I mean? I don't think anything changed in that department. I imagine they went, hey, Carson Wentz is hurt. We're going to load the box and we're going to stop the run. And we were still running the football. You know, Titans run defense isn't that great. So I guess I don't know a whole lot about the Dolphins run defense, but I've been told Jalen Phillips stinks by our guest here coming later today, Tyler. So I don't their secondary takes the ball away. I don't think much of their defensive line. Do you know anything different?
Their defensive line so far this year hasn't really been able to get too many sacks. They've been generating decent amount of pressure, but their sack numbers aren't low. So what the Colts need to do is, if that defensive line for the Dolphins starts getting that pressure, again, start establishing those quick throws, establish the running game. And I mean, we kind of talked about it that maybe that Colts abandon the running game later in the game because they aren't in the lead and they do have to go a more pass heavy centric offense. Well, I think that's going to be crucial too, is for the Colts to get out to an early lead, because not only will it take pressure off of Carson Wentz and you allow you to run the ball throughout the game, if you get a big enough lead, I don't think Jacoby Brissett is really the quarterback that's going to scare you in coming back and overcoming a huge deficit. You know what I mean? I mean, we know exactly what Jacoby Brissett is. We've seen him for 3 years. He's not the type of quarterback that's just going to light it up, lead a huge comeback. He's a guy that also needs to control the tempo, control and kind of play with a lead. So I think that's what's going to be another crucial part of this, is that the Colts can't start off slow like they have each game this year. They need to start out quick. They need to capitalize when they have those red zone opportunities. Instead of putting 3 points on the board, they need to start becoming 7, and we need to get out to a lead so that way the Colts can use that running game late into the game to stay with that lead, rather than having to abandon it and put all the pressure on a hobbled Carson Wentz to bring the Colts back into the game.
Yeah, and the Colts can try to sell me all week that Carson's looking better and, you know, his ankles, you know, he's progressing, blah, blah, blah. I cannot imagine after last weekend that he is not hurting a little more than we are being led to believe. I cannot imagine that he's not still going to be slightly immobile. Is he going to be Phillip Rivers again this week like he was this past week? Probably not, but I mean, Phil Rivers could have gotten around as much as he did last week. Now, while we're talking about running the ball, Andrew, I kind of want to flip-flop some stuff here in the plan, because I did reword what you had put in. And let's just talk about, in general, the O-line without Big Q and Braden Smith. And we can talk about first in regards to the run game. Are we going – what is it? Reed is the backup for Big Q. Left tackle, Eric Fisher, Jiminy Christmas. He's a little more proficient in run blocking than pass blocking, per our good friend, my close personal friend, Zach Hicks. So do you think these guys are going to be able to run block this week?
I think they definitely have a chance, especially because this Dolphins defensive line doesn't necessarily have a big force on it. I mean, they've got some guys that are decent, but they don't have anybody that I think you're particularly afraid of. There are a lot of younger guys still trying to develop. So when you think about Chris Reed coming in, because Quentin Nelson, while he's not officially ruled out, Frank Reich said today that it's not looking optimistic that he's going to play, which really sucks, because Quentin Nelson, obviously the heartbeat of this offensive line, the best player on this Colts team, and he hasn't missed a game in 54 career games. So that's going to hurt. But Chris Reed is a very solid backup. He's definitely the Colts' best backup offensive lineman. He came in for Quentin Nelson last week when Q went down, and he had a big game. He really did. He was very good in the running game. He was serviceable in the pass game, but Chris Reed is a guy that last year started 14 or 15 games for the Carolina Panthers. And the Colts were able to get him on a veteran minimum deal to come over to the Colts. So he's a very solid guy that if your best offensive lineman and Quentin Nelson goes down, Chris Reed can step in and play serviceable. And again, Braden Smith, he did not practice today. It doesn't look like he is probably going to play, going to miss his third straight game. So again, it'll be Julian Davenport.
Hey, people forget. Braden Smith wasn't playing great week 1 before he went out. Like, I saw somebody talking today like, damn, we need Braden Smith back. And while I don't disagree, Braden Smith was not playing great football week 1 against the Seattle Seahawks.
He wasn't, but I think we know that that's probably an outlier for Braden Smith.
I agree. So we thought that the whole time about this whole offensive line.
Well, I would say last week they probably played their best game of the year so far. I mean, we think of they only gave up 2 sacks, and while there was still some pressure on Carson Wentz, imagine if it was a fully healthy Carson Wentz. I think the Colts offensive line would have had a much better game because the quarterback also has a part in that. But anyways, we'll go back to the right tackle situation of Julian Davenport and Matt Pryor. Those guys will probably alternate. Eric Fisher, another week under his belt, more practice, more conditioning. I think he'll certainly play better than he did last week. He was not very good last week, but I think this offensive line can have a solid running attack, not only because of the defense they're going up against, but I think just more cohesion and the guys out there. I think that this offensive line is starting to maybe, hopefully, find its groove, and it can start playing like the offensive line that we know they can be.
Andrew, I'm all moved in. I got all my stuff. I got the setup put back up. I just want to say, can I do this? Hello again to Baby Yoda. He's back. Now let's talk about pass blocking. You skipped over pass blocking. We talked run blocking. Are we going to be able to protect Carson Wentz, who's going to be less mobile?
Mm-hmm.
I guess we skipped over. Is he going to be more mobile? You know what? I imagine Carson Wentz mobility going to be improved. Now, can we protect him?
I think his mobility will be improved.
Not greatly.
I don't think he's going to be. He's obviously not going to be at 100%. But Frank Reich did say that they think that Carson Wentz can be back to 100% after maybe a week or two, and he can be back to 100%. And Carson Wentz today, speaking with the media, said while his ankle doesn't feel necessarily great, it certainly feels a lot better than it did last week, which is a plus. It really is. They're still going to continue to throw the kitchen sink at this thing to get his ankle back healthy as quickly as possible. It's just now, how can the Colts adapt to this while Carson Wentz isn't 100%, doesn't have that mobility that's so crucial to his game? And I think what I put in my film review, it looked like he had so much success with those quick, short slant throws. This is something that Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne, it was a staple of this old Colts offense, where Peyton would take a quick 3-step drop, throw it to Marvin Harrison or Reggie Wayne, and every single slant, it would be 8 to 10 yards, first down, just chugging down the field. And I think I saw more of that than I ever have in a Frank Reich offense this past week with Michael Pittman, with Paris Campbell. I mean, these guys aren't small guys. They're 6'4" and 6 foot respectively. Zach Pascal's a good 6 foot tall. They're bigger body wide receivers. So on these slant routes, they can be a little bit more physical. They can box guys out with their bodies and get these quick throws to not only protect Carson Wentz, but get Wentz into a little bit of a rhythm as well as they start to go down the field, brings the defense in. Then you can start using some play action if you want to take more shots. You want to not have the blitz coming at you as fast, because those quick throws, it's going to eliminate the blitzes. Just those simple things that you can do to help take the pressure off the quarterback and not have him hold the ball so long that he ends up getting in trouble.
All right. So in regards to Wentz mobility, he's going to be a little more mobile. I hope they rest him enough in practice this week. He shouldn't have played last week, in my opinion.
He was a limited participant today in practice.
Yeah, correct. Neither here nor there on whether or not he should have played, because he did, and he didn't play well. He's got to know he's not as mobile as he's used to being. So he's got to get rid of the football a little better. You and I both got into some Twitter arguments today about him missing wide open receivers, and we're going back and forth about reads, blah, blah, blah. Listen, if the pocket's collapsing and there's a guy open, get rid of the football. It's not hard to miss a wide open Jack Doyle running a crosser, especially in an offense that loves crossing routes and tight ends. I imagine Jack Doyle might have been the primary route on that. So I don't really want to talk. We already talked about Wentz on Sunday. I don't want to talk a lot about it. Just what are your expectations this week out of him?
I do think we will see a better Carson Wentz this past week or this week against Miami. I think that was his low against the Tennessee Titans because he couldn't move, and he even admitted it today that some of it, and this is a good thing that he admitted. He said that his mechanics fell off quite a bit, and that's what's been the focus of Carson Wentz all off season. Is because and probably before that even it was because how bad his mechanics regressed in 2020, and that was a huge part of why his season was so bad. He is focused all season long, all off season on getting those mechanics back to how they should be. I think honestly, that's part of one of the big reasons why we saw
your face just froze for a second in the most beautiful way it ever could have. I hope that's what was in the stream. Carry on.
We've seen a pretty decent Carson Wentz, and honestly, a guy that's exceeded my expectations more than I thought he would. So we're seeing this Carson Wentz that as long as he can get his mechanics back to how they should be, I think Carson Wentz can have a better game, be more confident in the pocket. We might see a little bit more mobility out of him, but I still think we need to err on the side of caution. The Colts need to continue to do those quick passes, and again, it's all really going to come down to how the Colts can execute in the red zone. If they can execute in the red zone at a higher clip, I think they win this game pretty easily.
Yeah, I hope we can win the football game. Andrew, before I'm going to pull a little switch around here again. Let's talk pass rush before we talk Jacoby. Just because I kind of want to bring Tyler's in here. I want to bring him in to talk about what he thinks about his quarterback, Jacoby Brissett. So let's talk pass rush first. It's been week one. I still had high hopes because it was Russell Wilson, and I was like, you know what? We got real close a lot of times, but we couldn't seal the deal. Couldn't get a sack. And then week two against Stafford, I was like, hey, we're going to get some sacks. We did not. Not a lot. So what do you think about the pass rush, specifically the young pass rushers who, like Kwity Paye, we thought would have at least a couple sacks by now? He does not.
The pass rush has honestly been a little underwhelming for me, especially because I wasn't exactly expecting this pass rush to light the world on fire, but I was expecting some production. I was expecting quite a bit more pressures than we have seen, and it just hasn't been there, especially after the preseason that we saw from Kwity Paye, Kamoko Toure, Ben Banogu. Just hasn't been there.
Now, the preseason that we saw from Kwity Paye, and Andrew is on a hiatus. Now I'm on a hiatus. What is happening? Are we back?
Are we back?
Can you see me?
I can see you.
Let me see. I'm going to take a risky move here. All the technical difficulties. We're back. We're moving. Andrew, Kwity Paye. Kwity Paye had a good preseason. I think that's where we left off.
So Kwity Paye, I think after the preseason that this Colts defensive line and pass rush had, I was expecting more. Now, was I expecting Kwity Paye to light the world on fire? No. Absolutely not. I was still expecting Kwity Paye to maybe get about 8 sacks. It's going to take him some time, especially you think about the guys he's gone up against. Dwayne Brown, great left tackle. Andrew Whitworth, very good left tackle. Taylor Lewan, while he hasn't had a great start to the season, still a pretty good left tackle. And then Kwity Paye gets hurt very early in the game. So that's, I think, the biggest disappointment. Not Kwity Paye himself. I think Kwity Paye is going to come on. I'm still giving him plenty of time. Sure. It's just the pass rush as a whole. I haven't seen that production or that pressure that according to the preseason, how we saw in training camp, how exactly that was going to play out. So I do think that the Colts can get this going. It's going to take these young guys to get going. Kamoko Toure, Ben Banogu, Tyquan Lewis. Right now, Al-Quadin Muhammad has been the best edge rusher for the Colts. Also up in the middle, DeForest Buckner's been doing his job. Grover Stewart's been doing his job. But it's just these guys on the outside that need to really get going. And hopefully they can start doing that this weekend.
Sure. I just think we need to get home. Okay, and we've had issues with mobile quarterbacks, especially this year.
Bootlegs have been terrible against this
Bootlegs.
Colts
I mean,
defense.
Ryan Tannehill looked like the fastest man alive. He got his longest rush of his career last weekend. That blew my mind. So Jacoby Brissett last week, I asked Tyler himself, who's waiting to come on. I was like, hey, I missed kind of the second half, the fourth quarter of that Dolphins Raiders game because I was watching the end of the Chiefs. I think it was the Chiefs game and another game that kind of caught my attention. So I was finishing up with other games. But Tyler said, well, it wasn't his arm that was getting people. It was his legs. He was rushing. I mean, he was putting his life on the line to win this football game. And that's what scares me more than anything. We've given up long runs on broken plays to quarterbacks this year. And Jacoby apparently is in the mood to run the football. He's not going to throw the ball deep, but he might just run 20 yards on you. What are your expectations on Jacoby Brissett against the Colts defense, who he knows well, and the Colts defense knows him well?
I think that because of that familiarity between the two, I do think that there's going to be some give and take. I do think the Colts defense is going to get the best of Jacoby, but I think other times Jacoby is going to get the best of this Colts defense. Do I expect Jacoby to literally light it up and get 60, 70 yards on the ground? No, I really don't. But I do think that the Colts, they need to. One of the biggest things, if you remember about Jacoby Brissett, was just how hard it was to tackle him once people got him in the pocket. It was hard to bring him down for a sack. Yeah. And I think if the Colts do get home and they do get to Jacoby, they need to make sure they wrap him up and bring him down because he's a big, strong guy. And I think that's going to be the key, is to not let him escape and then to make plays down the field to his receivers. Sure. once the defense does converge on him.
All right, Andrew, are you ready to bring Tyler in?
Let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you now are my friend, Andrew's favorite listener, big time Dolphins fan, Tyler Deitering. Oh, I should have brought you in while you're clapping for yourself. That's on me.
I was clapping for myself, man. Can you guys hear me all right?
We can hear you, pal. So Tyler, you've got an old friend of ours down there on your Miami Dolphins and Jacoby Brissett. You just heard us talk about him a little bit. You can hear us when you're in there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's good to know. So what do you think about Jacoby in general as a Miami Dolphin, and what do you think he's going to do against the Colts defense Sunday?
All right. As much as I do dislike him, I will say he's probably one of the better backup quarterbacks in the league.
It's probably better than your starter.
There's only a couple of guys I would want above him. Wait, what was the comment?
I said he's probably better than your starter.
No, he's not. Anyways, we can get on that topic another time. Tua's going to be just fine. And if not, we'll get to Sean.
That is not what he was saying last week, but 2 weeks ago. That is not what he was saying 2 weeks ago. I just want you all to know that. Okay, yeah, I'm done interrupting. I'm sorry.
I flip-flop quite a bit, but, going back to Jacoby, though, he's not going to get you the long ball. That is true. Something that is very obvious. Something else that's extremely obvious is what you guys just said. He's a statue in the pocket, man. Like, people can't bring him down. I haven't seen that since – I mean, Tannehill had flashes of it, but you haven't seen that
Big Ben.
in a while in one of the Dolphins' QBs. So that's really good. I think he had like 40 yards rushing last week. He averaged 5.5 per rush. So, I mean, that's nice to see as well. But I don't know, man. The offensive line is the biggest issue. I think the Colts will get some sacks next week, so you guys should be very happy about that. Should be a good day for Kwity Paye. Both tackles are terrible.
Kwity Paye did not practice today, if that makes you feel any better. Hamstring still. Went out in the first quarter last week, still has not practiced.
Dang. Yeah, I think Colts have been bugged down by it, so have the Dolphins. The injuries are just early, and they're definitely hurting both teams here. The schedules aren't nice either, obviously, but I think the rest of the season, Colts and Dolphins have a pretty favorable schedule, so that's looking good.
Mm-hmm.
But injuries have really demoralized you guys' team and the Dolphins. Yep.
So I've got a quick question about the Dolphins offense. Are they more of a quick passing team? Do they use a lot of play action? What are kind of the main characteristics of this Dolphins offense that this defense that could give the Colts defense some troubles?
Yeah, so I don't know if they're going to do it with Jacoby, but the offense this year was rebuilt for Tua. There was a lot of RPO added to this new offense. Something they had last year was Chan Gailey, and that offense was completely for Ryan Fitzpatrick. So they came in, revamped, added new offensive coordinators. There's 2 of them, by the way. And just basically tailored a plan around Tua. But with Jacoby, I think you're going to see a lot of play action. I think you're still going to see them try to do some RPOs. It's going to be short routes. I think Waddle had 12 catches last week, but he only had like 60 yards. So he's just coming around, doing slant routes, doing drag routes. They haven't really put him deep.
And that was my curiosity. Sorry, Tyler, but with Waddle in the speed you've just been talking him up. I think I drafted him in all 3 of my fantasy leagues just based on your love. You kept talking about his speed and his ability to get up the field. Do you think this week, maybe after a week of practice, Jacoby might actually let it rip down the field a little bit to Jalen Waddle?
I really think he should. Now, I get getting Jalen Waddle the ball early because he is that guy that can make plays on his feet and get yards after the catch. I still think he's going to be a great player. But last week, Raiders were pretty disciplined in not letting any big plays behind them, which is Gus Bradley's defense to begin with. They're always going to have too high, essentially. They're not going to let big plays happen. They're going to let you dink and dunk. They're going to stop you. I'm not too high on the Colts safeties or corners, but that's a different story. So we'll see what they do with Devontae Parker, Jalen Waddle, and Albert Wilson. Gesicki's been real shy this year so far, so I'm looking for him to have a big game too.
Yeah, that's I'm not real happy with our corner situation right now, our safety situation. I thought we were going to be happy with, and that's not been great. But we're typically a team that keeps everything in front and tries to bend, not break. Don't you think, Andrew?
Yeah, I really do. And I think we saw that for the most part last week against Tennessee. I thought Julian Blackmon had a great game. It was really, he led the team in tackles. Anytime he was matched up one-on-one with Derrick Henry, he got the tackle, and he's given up 3 inches and 60 pounds on Derrick Henry. Julian Blackmon played pretty well. Khari Willis is the one that's really struggled this year. And Khari Willis, I thought he had a great season last year. The defense was not nearly as good when Khari Willis wasn't on the field. So when you see Khari Willis kind of struggling this year, and he also left the game as dealing with kind of a groin injury, it's going to bring in Andrew Sendejo. He's not the greatest, but he has that veteran presence. The Colts just signed Ibrahim Campbell to the practice squad. We'll see if he gets elevated this week. So if Khari Willis can't go, you very well could see more single high safeties with Julian Blackmon if the Colts want to bring in another corner, or you want to bring in even George Odom. I think George Odom's a hell of a safety, but for some reason the Colts just don't play and they keep him on special teams. So, and then on that corner situation that you brought up, Brandon, TJ Carey just went on IR today. Xavier Rhodes is working himself back. He definitely didn't play his best game last Sunday. I think another week under his belt, that certainly will help. But we did see Kenny Moore start to play a little bit better.
Finally.
Rock Ya-Sin has been the star of this cornerback group so far, which is pretty crazy to think about. So I think, again, it just hopefully we can see this continuity start to come together, because the Colts, for a defense that likes to bend but not break and try to keep everything in front of them and not give up big plays, they've certainly given up their fair share of explosive plays this year.
All right. Tyler, real quick, because Andrew and I have kind of gone over everything, but real quick, your thoughts on the game, and then your X factor prediction will come after. So let's not jump the gun on the prediction.
Okay.
X factor of the game for the Dolphins.
X factor of the game for the Dolphins is, not to be funny or anything, but it's Xavier Howard to me. I think, he's already got a couple interceptions. He has a couple forced fumbles. He has a couple fumble recoveries already. And I think the Dolphins secondary is going to be the story of the game, hopefully. Like you guys point out, the defensive line is young and struggling. Raekwon Davis is out for the next 4 weeks. So I really think if the Colts run it, stick with, true to what they're going to, who they're supposed to be, they should have no problems. But if they try to pass like they've tried the last couple of games, we have the best duo corners in the league, in my opinion. It's just silly to pass on a defense like that when you can run it down their throat. They're ranked like 28th in, rush defense. So if I was the Colts, I'd be handing it to JT.
Tyler's from Indiana as well. He's a closet Colts fan when he's not cheering for the Dolphins. So you understand our run philosophy. You know what I mean? Especially ever since Big Q's been on the team, really, and Ryan Kelly. What is your opinion? We talked about this a bit. What is your opinion on still running the ball and committing to the run even when teams are loading the box?
It's tough, man. And I think you're going to see it a lot Sunday. The Dolphins are, I think, the top 3 rushing teams in the NFL. Brian Flores will run the zero blitz offense. You'll see no one. You'll see one safety back there. You'll see everyone else manned up, and you're going to have 8 guys in the box, 7 guys in the box. I think you need to stick to it, though, because half those times some people are dropping into coverage. Also, I'm not too high. I'm not trying to get mean here, but I'm not too high on the Colts wide receiver core as a whole, as far as big plays. You do have someone who has big play ability, and it's Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
And I would, maybe if you get stopped a couple series, it's going to stink. But if you keep to what you're, true to what you're good at, running, he's going to bust one down the field for 40 or 50 yards.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the big momentum changer in the game if it happens. I know it happened last week against the Raiders, and it changed the whole game. Jonathan
Taylor and once he has the ball in his hands, Michael Pittman Jr. Those are the 2 playmakers on our offense, if you ask me. Andrew, your X factor for the game.
So I'm going to go right along with that. My X factor is Jonathan Taylor. And that's what my story is all about tomorrow morning. So I was looking back at Jonathan Taylor's run last year, those final 6 games that he played in when he had 741 yards. He was getting the ball on average 20 times a game. And so far this year, he's averaging 14 carries a game, and he's only getting 57 yards a game. So, and we talked about this ad nauseum towards the end of the year.
God, I need a bell. I need a bell for Andrew's praises.
The more carries that Jonathan Taylor gets, the more that defense wears down, the more he starts to get going, and you're going to see those big explosive runs. So we started out the show with run the damn ball. That's what the Colts need to do. Run the damn ball, and hopefully it can translate to win the damn game, because the Colts need this game to really kick things off, because if they start out 0-4, the season is on the cusp of being a complete bust already. This is a very crucial game for the Indianapolis Colts, and I think by running the ball with Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines going in there, we're certainly not going to forget the playmaker that Nyheim Hines is, taking that pressure off of Carson Wentz and really focusing in on the weakness of this Dolphins defense. That's going to be the Colts' best chance at success.
Sure, and for me, I did this 2 weeks ago, and I probably would have done it again last week, but I don't want to pick on him every week. But I mean, I don't think in Frank Reich's time with the Colts, we have been upset with him more than 1 week in a row. And now at this point, we've had legitimate bad things to say about Frank Reich last 3 weeks. Disappointing things to say, I should say. We're defending him when all of Colts Twitter and the national media is just absolutely shitting on him. He's had 3 bad weeks in a row. I would love to see Frank Reich have a good game this week. We're going to need it, especially if Carson Wentz is still, real hobbled. So,
quick question, if you guys have a second, how much do you think Frank Reich getting Wentz back changed the offensive game plan? They didn't run that much when he was in the Eagles with Wentz. Do you think I got my shiny toy back, we're going to let it loose because I know this guy?
They didn't run that much because they didn't have a great running back. The year they won the Super Bowl, they had a running game the year they won the Super Bowl. Not a great one, not as good as ours could be, but they had one.
Well, they didn't have the high end talent like a Jonathan Taylor or Nyheim Hines, but as a team in 2017 when the Eagles won the Super Bowl and Carson Wentz looked as best as he's ever looked, the Eagles were 3rd in the league in rushing that year because they took so much pressure off of Carson Wentz. They used a lot of the play action game, and not everything had to be on Carson Wentz. So I think that's what it needs to revert back to. I really think a big part of this and why the running game hasn't been used in the second half is just because the Colts haven't been playing with a lead. Those Eagles teams
that doesn't help.
Those Eagles teams got a quick lead early, and then they were able to rely on that running game to finish things out. That's got to be the recipe for this Colts team, especially when you have such talent back there with Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines. And it's hard to do it right now just because Wentz is injured. We don't have a 100% healthy Carson Wentz, but when he is fully healthy, or even it's starting this week, that really needs to be the focus is on that running game, so not all the pressure is on Carson Wentz to play hero ball for 60 minutes.
Which, in regards to the lead thing, Andrew, we've been put in positions to take an early lead, and we've fumbled it, not literally, well, sometimes, in the red zone. You know what I mean? We can't mess up in the red zone. And the second thing you talked about, now I forget. We talked about leading up when we got Carson Wentz. One of the keys was going to be, we can take the pressure off of him because we have the run game.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it just doesn't make sense to me that we seem to be disregarding that advantage completely. But we'll see. Predictions. Tyler, our guest. Do you come? Give me
right.
your hope and your realistic.
Okay,
prediction.
My hope is 28-17 Miami. I will just put out there. I have the Colts going 8-8 or 9-7 this year.
He did do that. He definitely said that to me, and I was pissed.
Not good. I wasn't a big fan of the wide receivers or the defense. I didn't think the defense was.
But you're the one that sent me. You're the one that sent me the graphic today. The Colts have the third easiest schedule remaining this year, under the Miami Dolphins and unfortunately the Tennessee Titans by PFF. Yeah. Carry on.
Yeah, I think having the Jets and Jaguars in your division really helps the overall schedule every year. Getting those free wins. Realistically, I do think it's going to be a close game. It could be 17-21, something close, or 20-21. I'm not entirely sure. I just think if the Colts stay true and run it,
the spread's 2. How close? Yeah. You think Vegas is right? Keep in mind this is, according to Vegas, this is an even game. Okay, plus 115, minus 135. Usually the home team is given 2 points by Vegas. I mean, Vegas has this dead even.
I would disagree with Vegas, and it's biased, I'm sure. I don't want to say that we've actually won a game, and I've scored quite a bit of points besides the Bills game. Let's not even talk about that. But I think going into Foxborough and beating a revamped Belichick defense, who spent $150 million on guarantees on that defense this year, was no small feat for Tua. Granted, it's unfortunate that he went out in the first series the week before against the Bills, but I think it'll be close. I do think the Dolphins have the edge. They're going to get a turnover. They have 26 consecutive turnovers.
Yep, 25.
26 games straight with the turnover. So someone's going to get, someone's going to fumble, someone's going to throw an interception. So you got to account for that. But, if the Colts stay true to what they do, I think it'll be extremely close.
Do you know my prediction? Let's see if you really are as good of a longtime listener as we're leading these fans to believe. What's my prediction?
For the Colts this year?
This game. Doesn't listen enough. Colts by $1 million. Colts by $1 million.
Well, so that's not going to
happen. My honest prediction is probably just the reverse of what you said. Score like 28-21, somewhere in that neighborhood, or maybe even a 3-point game, 24-21, 21-18, somewhere in that neighborhood.
See, I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. You said to hammer the over. I'm going to take the under. I think it's going to be. I think the Colts are going to win. I think they're going to get back on the horse. I just think that the Colts are going to get on that horse. I think the running game is going to be too much for the Dolphins defense. I don't think that Jacoby Brissett can necessarily take that Dolphins offense to the next level. And I'm going to go 24-14 Indianapolis.
That's not as low scoring as you made it sound like you were going to call it.
Well, I said I'm going to go to the under. That's only what? Man. Okay. 38? That's
I know.
Still the under.
Yeah. All right, Tyler, buddy. Thanks for listening.
Absolutely.
As little as you do, and thanks for joining us after all this time. You may not listen more than anyone else, but you've been listening as long as anybody else. And we appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for joining us. Who knows? Maybe we'll talk to you after the game.
Yeah, don't be, next week when you're 0-4 and sad, just
keep in mind there's one extra game this year, right?
That's the first round pick's gone next year already if Carson plays enough.
Hey, we have a chance this week to secure a third place in the AFC South.
Yeah, it must be nice to be in a
things to look forward to. All right, man. Thanks a lot for coming on. Have a good night.
Take it easy, Tyler.
Have a good one.
All right. What a guy. Where are we at here? I just need injuries. Let's see here. Injuries. Andrew, you go ahead and run through that terribly long list. I could have added this, to the
screen
display here, to the screen, but oh well.
So yeah, it's a long list. It usually is on Wednesdays for the Colts. So today at practice, here were the guys that did not participate. Jack Doyle with a back. Eric Fisher, he was out for rest. We had Darius Leonard with his ankle, obviously. Quentin Nelson with his ankle and also a knee. The back isn't listed, the foot isn't listed, but the knee is. Kwity Paye with his hamstring. Braden Smith, obviously, with his foot. Kari Willis with that groin injury. Antoine Woods with a back injury, and then Rock Ya-Sin, who also left the game in the fourth quarter with an ankle injury. He was not at practice today either. Really, the only updates we got were on Quentin Nelson and Braden Smith today from Frank Reich. Everyone else, they're still evaluating, and hopefully they really can play. Guys that were limited today were Mark Glowinski with a knee, Jonathan Taylor with a knee, which both of those aren't anything to be worried about.
Okay.
And then Carson Wentz.
Because I was worrying about Jonathan Taylor suddenly. I did not know that I needed to be suddenly worried about Jonathan Taylor.
No, I wouldn't worry about those. And then Carson Wentz, obviously with his ankles, was limited today, but that's a good start because he didn't practice till Friday last week. They thought this week he wasn't going to practice till Thursday, so he's already looking like he's ahead of schedule, which is a good sign.
Great. Cornerback TJ Carey, as we mentioned before, a knee is now placed on IR. Something we hinted at, and all of you have likely heard about, and we might actually talk about this here for a sec. The Colts are considering trading running back Marlon Mack per sources. Now, this is not Marlon Mack demanding a trade. This is not the Colts thinking Marlon Mack's garbage and we're trying to, just get something for him. We signed a 1-year deal with Marlon Mack. Marlon Mack signed a 1-year deal with us. And he thought he was going to be touching the ball more, but Jonathan Taylor, none of the running backs are touching the ball as much as they'd like to, but Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines are the guys. And Marlon Mack just wants to be more of a centerpiece. So he asked to be traded to somewhere that he could be more of a centerpiece, and the Colts are obliging.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's a good sign of respect because the Colts love Marlon Mack. He's a great kid. He has done absolutely nothing wrong. It's just Jonathan Taylor is one of the best young running backs in the league, and they just extended Nyheim Hines and made him a top 10 paid running back in the league. There just isn't the touches there. And then when you talk about, well, can't he be like a third or fourth string? Marlon Mack doesn't play special teams. Jordan Wilkins does play special teams. That's the difference between this. Yeah. Marlon Mack wants to go somewhere where
he doesn't want to play special teams.
Right. Marlon Mack wants to go somewhere where he can be a bigger part of the offense, and the Colts are happy to do that. So as far as compensation is concerned, I don't expect us to get any high value pick for Marlon Mack or any high value player. I would think that a mid to late day 3 draft pick, maybe I would put 5th round pick as the absolute ceiling. I'm more thinking of like a 6th or 7th round pick. I think that's what the Colts will get in compensation for Marlon Mack.
I saw somebody say, like in Bob Kravitz mentions, that if we let him go for anything less than a 2nd rounder, management needs to be fired. And I literally pooped my pants. So yeah, new underwear for me today. Colts elevate cornerback Anthony Chesley to the active roster. Colts sign safety Ibrahim Campbell, who's been on and off practice squad, yada, yada, a million times. Tight end David Wells and safety Jordan Lucas to the practice squad. Nothing really to talk about there. Cornerback, obviously replacing or coming up because of TJ Carey. Von DeYoung, why do you guys believe Frank is doing such a bad job of play calling right now? Well, Von DeYoung, my dear aunt, I think what Tyler mentioned before about, Frank having a shiny Carson Wentz toy back has something to do with it. I think Frank Reich might be a little overconfident in Carson Wentz. I think Frank Reich is not focusing hard enough on the run in general. And I think that is kind of like a poison infecting the rest of the game plan. Andrew, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm right. What do you think?
I don't think you're completely wrong. I think obviously I think you're being a little tougher than I would be on Frank Reich. I do think he has been predictable in the red zone. Yeah. I also think that the execution hasn't been great, because when you think about the game against the Rams when they were on the 1 yard line and they ran it 3 times right up the gut. Jonathan Taylor behind Quentin Nelson and Ryan Kelly. You'd expect to get 1 yard at least on one of those 3 plays. I don't put that on Frank Reich. I do put the 4th down call on Frank Reich where he tried to hurry with a pass. It was a bad throw, or it was a bad play call. There wasn't very many options on it. I do put that on Frank Reich. On this past week in the red zone, Carson Wentz misses a wide open Michael Pittman. Zach Pascal drops the ball on the goal line. I don't put that on Frank Reich. I do put it on Frank Reich where maybe abandoning the run, not putting more of a focus on that. So I do think it's really just a combination of everything. Do I think Frank Reich has been his best at play calling? No. Do I think he's the singular reason why the Colts are struggling? No. Absolutely not.
So I would say that the real concerning thing about Frank Reich and the offensive performance right now, the real disturbing thing is the red zone offense. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some questionable things here and there just in the open field, but the red zone is the real concerning spot. Andrew, we gotta move here. Week 3, Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, and Week 4 slate of games. Packers finally beat the 49ers in San Francisco, 30-28. Listen, Mike Golick went on to Pro Football Talk, and I was all excited. And then he said that hit on Davante Adams was clean, and I just kind of peed a little and was not happy. I don't know what he saw, but I saw a helmet come in and hit Davante Adams in the jaw and twist his head. Now, granted, it made it seem less severe because Davante Adams got up and came back in the game. You know what I mean? Like almost immediately. So that changes things a bit, but that was not a clean hit.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely didn't look pretty. Davante himself said it really wasn't his head. It was more that he was just out of breath and it knocked the wind completely out of him. Still did not look like a good hit to me.
His eyes didn't look like somebody that couldn't breathe. His eyes looked like somebody that was seeing stars.
But I think the biggest part of that game was you don't leave 37 seconds for Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, you saw my tweet. Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams, Mason Crosby, checkmate. Like just a beautiful drive to end that game. And for all the people that were saying that Aaron Rodgers doesn't care, I think you should probably walk that back right about now.
Yeah, I'm not with them. Cowboys beat the Eagles 41-21. Not real shocked there. Zeke actually had a good game. Caused me to lose in fantasy football. Thank you, Zeke.
The biggest story out of that game was Eli Manning on the broadcast throwing the double birds on Monday Night Football. A pretty wild sight to see. Again, Manning broadcast was phenomenal. Sucks that they're going to be off for the next 4 weeks, so we don't get to see Peyton Manning calling a Colts game. But as far as do
you think Peyton didn't want to do the Colts game?
No, I think he did. I just think that they didn't take those 4 weeks off just because Peyton didn't want to do the Colts game.
I don't think it's a 4-week thing. I just think maybe he, might have done it. I don't know where the Colts game is in those 4 weeks. I don't think Peyton wanted to do that game because I just think he likes to distance himself. If it was the Broncos, I'd feel the same way.
I don't think it's anything like that. But
okay. All right,
for that Cowboys game, Dak again looked really, really good. And
Dak's good at football.
Yeah, Dak's real good at football.
I don't know if he's that good, money wise, but he's earning it right now. So we'll see in the long run. Pick 'em standings. Andrew, go ahead.
Why do you just like for me to say how you're winning each week?
It's kind of like I love when my fiance has to tell me I'm right.
So Brandon is up in the pick'em standing. He's at 30-18 for 63%. I'm at 26-22 for 54%. Hey, we're both at least above 50%. Wish we would pick our money lines like this.
I do.
Not just put them in a parlay. Well, I don't because I continue to lose.
Continue
to lose all my bets. So
I've got a parlay coming to Bad Beats with Brandon. So
when don't you?
Yeah, I know. It's actually the only thing I have for Bad Beats with Brandon. So yeah, I'm 30-18, 63%. Andrew's 26-22, 4 games behind at 54%. Let's get it going, Andrew. Week 4, Jaguars at Bengals.
Yeah, Joe Burrow against Trevor Lawrence. I think the Bengals haven't looked too bad. They really haven't. So I'm going to take Joe Burrow and the Bengals in this one.
I'm going to let you pick first. Washington football team at Atlanta.
Man, I hate picking the Falcons. The public.
You're gonna do it anyway.
the public is on the Falcons at
Barely.
50%. You know what? I can't do it. I'm going with the Washington football team. I get burned every time. I'm gonna go with the Washington football team.
This is just like last week. Andrew
They're
picks
gonna
against
win.
the Falcons. The Falcons win. So I'm picking the Falcons at home against Taylor Heineke is who I'm picking, because the Washington football team defense that we thought they were going to be has not been. So Matt Ryan in the 5th round, taxes and death. So Texans at Bills. We both picked the Bills. I mean, we don't have to talk about that.
That was pretty easy.
Lions at Chicago, Andrew.
I'm taking the Lions. This is my upset, or I don't even know if it's considered an upset, but the Lions have played good teams pretty well, and the Bears are a bad team. I think the Lions, they've just had already too much bad luck this early in the season. I'm gonna pick them to beat the struggling Bears.
Hey, if you're watching, post your picks while we're talking about these two. Let's go. Colts at Dolphins. I'm skipping a game. Panthers at Cowboys. I'm picking the Lions as well, by the way. I'm going Panthers. Another upset, technically. The Panthers are at plus 175 on DraftKings. Give me the money.
See, I'm going Cowboys. I just think the Cowboys look really, really good. The Panthers are injured right now. They're not going to have J.C. Horn, Christian McCaffrey. I really think
Horn, rookie corner.
I mean, he's one of their best corners, and their defense has been playing pretty well. But I'm going to go with the Cowboys.
Panthers. Colts are going to beat the Dolphins. We both picked that. You're going to put that on paper, Andrew? You clicked the Colts?
I did pick the Colts.
All right, Browns at Vikings. I got Browns.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Browns as well. Again, the Browns, I think, look like a great team, and that running game is really hard to stop.
Danny Dimes and the Giants heading to see famous Jameis and the Saints.
Famous Jameis will not be denied. The Giants are going to lose and go to 0-4, and the Saints, I think, will win pretty handily.
Their defense isn't good. They didn't win last week. Who'd they play last week? The Falcons. Never mind. Titans at Jets. As much as I would love for Zach Wilson to get his first win this week, I don't have much faith. Titans.
I agree. The Titans are a much better football team, and the Jets just have nothing going for them right now.
I imagine we're both picking the Chiefs in Philly.
I'm picking the Chiefs in Philly. After 2 straight losses for the Chiefs, and a struggling Eagles team that Jalen Hurts did not look very good. I don't think he bounces back versus the Chiefs.
Yeah, I don't think Patrick Mahomes is going to spend much of his career below 500 in the win category. Cardinals at Rams. At Rams in LA, Andrew.
See, I think this game
sucks to pick. I don't want to pick it.
It sucks to pick. I think it's going to be a lot closer than a lot of people think. I mean, a lot of people love the Rams, but as we've been talking about, this Cardinals team is nothing to mess with. Both undefeated. I will give the Rams a slight edge just because they are at home, and I think Matty Stafford's going to continue his role.
I really struggle with this for one specific one specific plural reasons, because I'm illiterate. Here's what I'm struggling with. The Cardinals defense is good. And the Rams, if Henderson is out, I mean, my goodness, their run game, they don't have any running backs. So basically I got this at a draw, but since it's in LA, I picked the Rams. I'm not going to pick the Rams I'm not going to pick against the Rams till they lose. The Cardinals MVP leading Kyler Murray. It's tough to make this pick, but I think they'll end up splitting. Cardinals will win later this year at home, but the Rams will win this Sunday. That's the game I'll be watching at 4. I don't know about you. Seattle at San Francisco. Andrew.
This is another tough game. Seattle hasn't looked great, and the 49ers have had a tough loss to the Packers. I am going to go with the 49ers. I have a feeling Russell Wilson very well could burn me here, but I think the 49ers maybe as a whole have a better team.
Yeah. Better team, good run game. I'm going to go with the 49ers. Ravens at Broncos. Andrew, I'll go ahead and pick first. Mile High City. Broncos haven't played anybody great, but they have looked good. The Ravens, won on a miracle record-breaking kick against the Detroit Lions. So, the Detroit Lions love to find fun ways to lose football games. So I'm gonna go with the Broncos.
Okay, I'm gonna go Ravens. I think while it wasn't a great game by the Ravens against Detroit, and the Broncos are undefeated, I just think the Ravens defense will find a way to step up and give Teddy Two Gloves some issues this week.
Steelers at Packers.
Packers are rolling now, and the Pittsburgh offense does not look good. So I'm going to go Packers.
Ooh.
Pretty easy.
Cardinals by 5. Cardinals by 5.
Cardinals by 5.
From one of our favorite listeners. Buccaneers at Pats. Listen, I am upset that we are recording Sunday night and missing all the pregame shit for this football game. Buccaneers and Tom Brady head to New England. Listen, there's not a whole ton of quarterbacks that have beat every team in the NFL. Peyton Manning's one. Brett Favre, I believe, is one. Drew Brees probably. Phil Rivers, if we would have played the Chargers last year, would have been one. Probably. I guess I don't know that for sure. Can you think any others?
I thought it was only those 3 when it was Peyton,
Tom
Favre,
Brady's
and
added to the list
Brees.
Sunday. Tom Brady's added to the list Sunday. I wish he wasn't. I really, really hope they lose. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I lose $2,000 on a parlay this weekend because they lose this game. But I'm picking the Buccaneers against the Patriots.
Yeah, the Buccaneers are probably gonna. Brady's gonna want to embarrass Bill Belichick and the Patriots, and very well could happen. He could put
and they're coming off a loss.
He could put up about 5 or 6 touchdowns. So I'm going Buccaneers pretty handily.
With you, I'm not kidding you. I'm going to talk about my parlay here in a minute. $5 parlay to win over $2,000. If that's the game it comes down to, I'm cashing. I might not even cash out because the bad juju will hit me and Tom Brady will lose this football game. We got to account for the fact that Bill Belichick knows Tom Brady too. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Maybe Mac Jones just. Could you imagine? I can't wait. I'm so excited for that game. It's incredible how you can want to watch a guy you hate so much. It actually pisses me off. Las Vegas Raiders at the LA Chargers. I'm riding with the Chargers.
I'm still wondering if the Raiders,
Chargers at home,
if the Raiders are fooling all of us right now. But I think I will go with the Chargers just because I love Justin Herbert so much, and I think especially with that performance against the Chiefs, I would expect him to back that up against the Raiders. I
gotta save this photo of everybody. So my work is like spread across the country, right? Everybody's remote, but there's a ton of people that are like in California, and then a ton of people that are like in a broad enough region where they're all Chiefs fans, and it's really annoying, even though I kind of like the Chiefs too, just because I love watching Patrick Mahomes. But this guy, ever since the Chargers win, he's a Chargers fan, has been showing this picture of a Justin Herbert with a little Patrick Mahomes on his shoulder, saying he's his dad. It's awesome. Go Chargers. We're picking the Chargers, right? Yep. That's it. That's the picks. Is it going to let me save? Because I don't feel like putting in the tiebreakers right now. Not doing it. Let's move it along to news around the good old league, Andrew. The good old football league, National Football League. The Jaguars trade cornerback C.J. Henderson and a future 5th-round pick to the Panthers for tight end Dan Arnold and a future 3rd-round pick.
Yeah, C.J. Henderson, that top 10 pick by the Jaguars last year, he needed a fresh start already. It seems like that happens with a lot of Jaguars first-round picks. Hopefully it happens with Trevor Lawrence. But I think he'll do well in Carolina. Now you have 2 very young corners in J.C. Horn and C.J. Henderson, both top 10 picks. That could be a very stout top 2 corners once they get going.
All right, got to move here, Andrew. Wide receiver Josh Gordon was reinstated by the NFL this week. Wow, signs with the Chiefs. I just wish Josh Gordon could have been healthy forever. I do, and stayed out of trouble because he was so good. I don't think this signing makes much of an impact.
I really don't either. I mean, at this point,
I wish it would.
at this point, it seems like every year Josh Gordon gets reinstated. He plays a couple weeks, then he gets suspended and ousted from the league again. I don't think
you can't get suspended for the marijuana usage anymore. That like they don't randomly test throughout the season unless you're in the substance abuse program, which he probably is. So never mind.
Definitely is.
Cornerback Richard Sherman signs with the Buccaneers. I didn't think anybody would sign him. I thought his career was over. I thought he was going to retire. Did this surprise you today?
Not really, just because
the Bucs have no morals.
Because the Buccaneers needed desperate cornerback help, and Richard Sherman was available, and he's probably the best cornerback on the market. So it kind of goes along with the Chiefs. The Chiefs signing Josh Gordon doesn't really surprise me. Buccaneers signing
no
Richard
violent
Sherman
crimes
either.
No violent crimes, especially not down the road from me. You know what I mean? Geez, this guy Richard Sherman. I don't know who was it. Josh. Our editor, Josh, commented like that when he left the 49ers, I mean, he was playing good football, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Better than he was at the end of his career with the Seahawks. All right. Cornerback Quentin Dunbar signs with the Cardinals. Patriots running back James White out for the year with a hip injury. Lions release linebacker Jamie Collins, and the Bears sign a deal to buy Arlington Park property for a potential new stadium site outside of Chicago.
Yeah, that's the big one because the Bears have been trying to work with the Chicago mayor about getting a new stadium, not going anywhere. And the Bears are serious about this. If they don't get a new stadium, they're moving out of Chicago, which would be big.
Where's the Arlington Park, like around Chicago or Arlington Park, Texas?
Well, Arlington Heights outside of Chicago.
That'd be wild if they went to Texas. That'd be hilarious.
I don't think Jerry Jones would be too happy about that.
No, probably not at all. But you know what? Sounds like a him problem. Let's move along to a segment. Andrew, let me intro it real quick. Bad Beats with Brandon is a segment where I make really bad football picks, win a lot of games in a big crazy parlay, and then lose one heartbreaker. So let's get it started for those who don't know and those who do love me. 14 pick this week plus 5,777. We're going to start it out with the Bengals at minus 350, the Kansas City Chiefs at minus 310, the Tennessee Titans at minus 310. I am not going far out on a limb this week. The Buffalo Bills at minus 1,125. Carolina Panthers, here we go, plus 175. Hilarious. Detroit Lions plus 120. The Saints at minus 320 and the Browns at minus 130. The Atlanta Falcons plus 105. That's a close one. The Rams minus 235. I think that line's a little egregious. The 49ers minus 150 and the Packers minus 280. Denver Broncos minus 115 and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in New England minus 290. That brings you to that 5,777. $5 bet wins you $2,858.86. This is the week. No more crazy upsets this week that I didn't predict anyway. Nothing out of the ordinary in the NFL this week. We're gonna win this bet. Let me bring up back the show notes here, Andrew, because we gotta wrap it up. All right, I'll just stop the music early. Abrupt stop to Bad Beats with Brandon. That's my segment. I even threw my little logo up there for when I actually did a little mini show for twice. Don't forget to go follow us at a Colts podcast. It's a cool thing to do to follow us on social media, Instagram. Wait, what way am I? Here we go. You want to do it too? If you don't know what's going on right now, you should probably be watching on YouTube or Facebook or something. At a Colts podcast, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We are absolutely ridiculous. You can go see Andrew's Carson Wentz hating nonsense right there live on Twitter. I mean, you wouldn't believe the logical things that Andrew is being shit on for. It's hilarious. Hey, a special new intro. I finally remade the intro today.
Outro?
Outro. Nice outro here today. So make sure to listen and check that out. Don't tune out. There's a special part at the end. See you guys next week. Go Colts.
Go Colts.
We are still on the screen. All right, I'm done.
Let this moment become a cherished memory. And then remember, a legacy is only worthwhile when there is a future to fuel. God bless you, and God bless football.